Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
So, guys, we are going down the same train of thought. We're kind of building on something. We've done this before a few times. Hopefully, everybody will look at these videos sequentially. So, hopefully, you've checked out the Lady of Mali video, which we released, yesterday, and are looking at this one, and then we're going to have another one that's going to be coming out that's going to kind of build on that, because boy, yeah, it's just fascinating to try to uncover our history. So make sure you're subscribed to all three channels with the little bell clicked. We do want to thank everybody that's supporting us over on Patreon and on Ko-Fi, where you can do a one-time donation or monthly, just like you can on Patreon, just by clicking the number of coffees. And do learn more about us over at evolutionaryenergyarts.com. So, we are going to talk about Atlantis. And has Atlantis been discovered? Are you guys familiar with this particular formation? It's called the Reiki structure. It does kind of look a lot like what Plato described Atlantis. He said it was built on concentric rings of circles. And it was an absolute hub of activity in Atlantean culture. Now, we will tell you straight off, Atlantis wasn't just a city. It wasn't just in one location. It was a global society that wasn't even just for Homo sapiens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and this one was fun because Mike carries with him so much knowledge, and then I'm the one who's not privy to certain things, but when he brings it to my attention, I can kind of say exactly what's going on in there. I can give all of the energy that I'm absorbing, and I can bring life to that. So this was a fun one.
So we see Mauritania over here, over on the western portion of Africa. As you can see, that this structure from the sky, in fact, it's almost impossible to miss, because when you open up Google Earth, you see Mauritania, you just start circling in, and it doesn't take much to see it. It's right there. It's right there staring at you, right in your face. This is a big, big structure. Now, the other things that hit you is you can see how windswept the sands are. Now, this situation that we see Africa in, with this absolutely gigantic desert, it wasn't always that way. When the pyramids were built, this was a lush tropical forest. This was such a bounteous area, and it will be again. It will be again. Things cycle. The earth does change. It's always changing. Yet this structure was first noticed by astronauts orbiting the earth. Again, how could you not see it? It's like an eye staring right at you. So, what does astronauts Atlantis and Africa share? The Reiki structure. Tucked away in Mauritania, surrounded by the imposing shifting dunes of the Sahara Desert, lies the Reiki structure, a spectacular rock formation of many names. The Eye of the Sahara has guided astronauts, inspired those seeking the lost city of Atlantis, and puzzled geologists. Yet you could stroll through this magnificent geological feature without ever appreciating the concentric stone circles all around you. Now, it's visible truly for what it is, really only from space. Again, it makes you think about the Nazca, all those Nazca lines, Nazca structures that they were basically building to say hi to everybody flying by in the sky. So this one from Ancient Origins, and it tries to sort of downplay the idea that this is perhaps associated with Atlantis. Is it the lost city of Atlantis? And it kind of tries to downplay it. Jimmy over at Bright Insight did a wonderful video on this a few years back. And, it was well done. It's compelling and it feels right. That's the thing. It does feel right. And here they're arguing the typical things that we'll get from our scientists. Well, no, that's millions of years old. It's been there for millions and millions of years. It's volcanic. It was, it wasn't built by anybody of intelligence. No, it's just a natural occurrence. Yeah, well, we got Cindy. We trump the scientists. Yes, we do. And, again, there's 4 articles here that all have a little slightly different take on what they think it is. And then we have Gaia as well. But we're going to ask Cindy. Because, again, what we've gotten from the guides is, again, that Atlantis wasn't just a city. It wasn't just an island. It was a global civilization that was frequented by many different extraterrestrial species. They came and they left and they came back again, all different types of beings. And we had giants and we had all different types of humanoid species as well. Perhaps even open interaction with some beings that live inside the earth as well.
Right. So, upon looking at this and looking deeper dimensionally to see what's in there, there's all kinds of different beings who are hustling, bustling. They're making trades. They're, trading this for that. And they're really in a very high vibrational mood. They're very happy. I don't feel any tyranny going on when I look at how they're exchanging things. It's like there's this very nice balance that I see overall energetically through the life of this origin or this entity. People were pretty happy. There's technologies in there that you or I would not understand. And these are the technologies that come from Mother Earth, and people are understanding how to use her energy in order to heal themselves. So I feel there's a lot of herbal remedies, there's a lot of energy work, there's a lot of crystals. And speaking of crystals, I always want to say a shout out, thank you, Mama Jan. She passed some crystals to me, and they were very, very magical. And come to find out, what's happening right now to so many crystals is they are being activated and they are making their connections from one crystal to the next. So they definitely speak with one another. These are the crystals that remember these times. That frequency never leaves them. So this is a really beautiful place. A lot of energy healing knowledge, a lot of understanding of pendulums and the different ways you can use energy and reading energy. It's like these were probably the best of times where life was the funnest. And in such a tangible way, you could see and feel people buzzing around together, pretty symbiotically, not perfectly, but for a long time, this is the energy that was held in that area. And this is what I can see. So it was a lot of fun to look dimensionally into that.
Absolutely. According to Plato, if we listen to his descriptions, again, it does sound a lot like what he talks about. He said the story of Atlantis first told by the ancient Egyptians. So again, if we take every word that he gives us completely as is, we could be obviously missing the boat because, Plato, we're talking over, 2,500 years ago, thereabouts. That's a long time ago. And a lot of things get missed in translation. And then he didn't hear it. He didn't see it and experience it himself. He heard of it first from the Egyptian sources. So, again, there could be some things that are a little bit off. But he said that Atlantis was a leader in academia, architecture, agriculture, technology, diversity, spiritual empowerment. Their navy and military were unmatched. The Atlantean kings ruled with extreme authority. It's no surprise that Atlantis fell in ways similar to Rome. Potentially in a similar way to how the United States could fall, the power came forth out of the Atlantic Ocean, an island larger than Libya and Asia put together. Now in this island of Atlantis, there was great and wonderful empire which had ruled over the whole island and several others, and over parts of the continent. So that's Plato, Timaeus, Critias. Soon after waging an aggressive, unprovoked war on parts of Asia, the Atlanteans were defeated only by the only army willing to defend the continent, the Athenians. Amidst the battles, the gods thrust violent tsunamis, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, and floods upon the empire of Atlantis. As if admitting its sins, Atlantis burst apart, dissolving into the ocean and desert, and was never seen again. Now again, you got to realize history is told by those that are the victors, and the vanquished can't tell their side of the story, and this is where everything gets distorted. Like, who is in charge now? Who has been in charge now? Well, it's been the ones that we would call those that come from the sky, the Anunnakians, the Enlil, Enkyites, again, the Draco and the AI Borg collective, which has worked through Athens, which has worked through Rome, which has worked through the British and then the American empires, and which now plans on shifting its power to the BRICS nations. This is talking about the end of an age in which, when you talk about diversity, you're talking about non-humans too. We're talking about extraterrestrials, we're talking about giants, we're talking about all sorts of different beings that were very much like Star Wars is one of the things that Cindy first said when we were scanning it. It feels more like we're watching a Star Wars movie. Going into the Cantina.
It does. And it's really fun when you start to channel information with someone else. That someone else can also jump in and pick from the antenna. So pretty soon, it's like both of us are able to crawl in there and look and see dimensionally, because Mike does. He picks up a lot of information off my antenna. Thank goodness, because it's a little too much for me to handle constantly. But these are abilities that have been long lost. It was a really wonderful place and a wonderful time. I do see kind of quite a tragedy, but I'm choosing not to really hone in on that. I'm just wanting to feel the everyday life, the everyday buzz that went on in the area. And it was something that it really feels like it should be a normal way of life. It feels there's a familiarity to this kind of buzz about people going back and forth and honestly helping one another and exchanging energy in ways that is going to help society grow. So that was the dominant energy for a while.
So we were talking about the Lady of Mali and that huge 4,500 foot, basically statue built into the rock cliff. That was a being that was not from here, but was loved, absolutely loved, because we do have all these stories. When we're in the Kali Yuga, in the Dark Age, it's the dark ones that rule the planet, and it's the dark system in effect. We have these remembrances of these benevolent beings that teach from a totally different point of view. They teach us, source lies within all of us. You don't need any one particular dogma, no one particular one size fits all. No. It's not conform. It's not you were created to serve. It's, you're unique. Go explore. And it's only when we're in the Dark Age that we get the dark way of looking at things, so to speak. The very much humans are a slave species there to serve their masters. But the remembrances are of these interactions with really what we would call extraterrestrial beings that were very benevolent. and taught us a lot of good, beneficial things. When you look to Plato, he said you had to go through the Pillars of Hercules, which are the Straits of Gibraltar, to get to Atlantis. Now, what's interesting, too, is it does reference this one ancient map, which was positioned in such a way that seems to be indicating it was before a crustal displacement event with a pole shift, because north and south were not exactly as they are right now, and so it's changed. But again, as you see this ancient map from 430 BC, I think there's a lot more changes that happen more often than what we really truly think.
Right. I think change is fairly rapid and very abundant, and there's a lot of structures that are just left and abandoned, and all they carry with them is, the whispers of the past. And we definitely are able to tap into that ourselves and pick up our own understanding of what happened in that area. I think science is very good at putting things in these certain boxes, in these constructs, and saying, well, if it's not inside of these 4 squares, 4 lines here, then it cannot be so. It cannot be true. So we can only do what we see and can feel in this tangible 3D world. But there's so much more than that. I mean, that's just giving you such a small sliver of information. And we're growing, and they can't really keep this subdued forever, because more and more people are feeling the energy.
So you could look at this map and say this is a pathetically horrible map from people who had no clue what they were talking about, including look at the way the Nile runs. That's familiar. And then why does it hang into almost like a V shape? Because if we look at the Nile today, it doesn't do that. It's kind of going straight on down. But again, the changes that have happened in the past are mind-blowing. As there's evidence that this whole area was just swept over by ocean, swept right on over. And I think about being in the Carolinas. I owned a house over in the Columbia area. My backyard was completely sand, white, beautiful sand. That was at some point in time underwater, and that's several hundred miles. That's 140 miles in from the current ocean. Oh, things can change. They could change very, very dramatically, very, very quickly. So we just wanted to share this little thing with you. Now, again, Atlantis, that was a global civilization. And, how did they get around? How did they go from here to there? Well, because there were beings coming and going that had basically spacecraft. I mean, they could leave the planet. No, you don't hit the firmament and bounce back down. No, that again is the controllers just trying to get you to think that, the only life is here on this planet. When we look to all the myths and legends all around the globe, they all talk about beings that aren't from here, that come here. Sometimes they spend long periods of time with us, helping us and getting us organized, teaching us so many things that are just so invaluable, especially how the universe works. But then when you're, under the dark age, oh no, then it's all slavery and everything we see from the leaders out there who are their minions. But their time is coming to an end, and it will be too bad, so sad. Bye-bye.
Indeed.
Yes, as we will return to understanding that we are not alone, and our interactions will be with all sorts of beings that are just looking forward to the time when they could come back and interact and to share. So please do share this video. As always, much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.